Hello everyone, welcome to this stream. Sorry it's been a little bit of a while since I've done a stream. Been, around town, just being amazing, that sort of thing. But now,
Stop lying.
now it's, as you can tell, Andy's with me, and I also have Hal here. Hi Hal.
Oh,
And we're going to be having a chat about this rabbit hole that I've fallen quite deeply into. Those of you who
really? Deeply into?
yes, I'm invested. I'm very deep. I'm balls deep in this rabbit hole.
Right,
I
okay. Is
don't.
that because he's called Christine now?
Well, it's certainly nothing to do with an attraction thing. Sorry, guys. There seems to be a really bad echo coming from one of you two just there. Sorry, guys, in the chat for that. We're trying this on Discord because we think the sound quality is better, but we've been struggling a bit. So if it does get unlistenable, let us know in the chat, and we'll switch to Skype.
Just keep us. Yeah.
But yeah, so
it's getting annoying already.
We're going to talk about a Chris Chan, which we did kind of a stream on. I thought that stream went really well because it was quite good, Andy, because you weren't really informed, so I could give you my sort of lack of information, which was a bit more than yours, but I think it helped people get involved. However, I've put a link in the description if you aren't aware at all of who Chris Chan is. There's a fantastic documentary this guy called Gino Samuels made. He must have spent hours making it. There's 10 parts so far, and each are about 40 minutes, and it goes so into detail. But it doesn't, I mean, at the moment, his documentary is only up to around, I don't know, 2008 or something, 2009 in Chris's life. And there's so much more in I hope it's not spoilers for anyone who is keeping up to date with that documentary, but what has happened at the moment and the person he has now turned into, which if you're unaware, and it's something we discussed in the last stream, is he now identifies, I believe, as a straight lesbian or something like that. He did you have a look at his YouTube channel that I sent you, Andy?
Yeah, well, I already had a brief look a few weeks ago. Was it a couple of weeks ago when we did the last video?
Well, I went a bit deeper into it though, and he's got videos on there of him like in a vibrating bra and all sort of how he does his breast massages. So he's now, for those who are he's now like more or less I don't know if he ever intends to have the operation, but acting as if he's a pre-operation transsexual.
The thing is, he didn't. I've only watched part one of the documentary, and he didn't display any signs of being. Well, I don't suppose we'd know at that age, but I didn't realise he was like gay or anything.
Well, he was. If you watch that documentary, I don't know how far you're into it yourself, Andy. I've watched it all through. Sorry,
I've only watched part one.
Oh, okay. I've watched it, but he's quite like very homophobic during
someone didn't he talk about the school principal that potentially like abused him in a minor kind of way?
Yeah, he implied that. I believe, because I've actually been gone this deep into it. I've been looking at he's got. I mean, this is what's crazy about Chris Chan though. He's got his whole own quickie. It's called. It's like a Wikipedia, but it's the quickie because of Quickville, Chris Weston Chandler, and it's got like so much pages and pages and huge amounts of information on it. It's a bit like if you remember the old Church of Cod website, but this is all it's got thousands more pages of information than the Church of Cod website ever had, and yet it's all about one person.
Fiera Stevenson just said, at least when Lorne wakes up, no more his shit life.
Well, that's it. I mean, well, Chris Chan could at least say he's not a sex offender. He's not at least on the register. I
not a sex offender. So just to do
that. I wanted to, Andy. This is going to blow your mind, and I don't. Hal's a bit younger than us, so he might be aware of this, right? But before I kind of wanted to get in what I wanted to speak about Chris Chan today, because we're going to sort of more discuss his present persona and how he became like he is. But Andy, a question for you: do you know what a brony is?
Oh, not another one of these crazy bloody internet terms. No, I don't.
I know of them. I know of them.
You know of them? How, Andy? What about furry?
Unfortunately.
Do you know what a furry is?
A furry?
Yeah.
Isn't it them people that dress up in them crazy, like life-size, animal costumes?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, well,
Where are we going with this?
Okay, this is worlds that you and you certainly not very much understand. It's something I
I'm
know
aware
of,
of them. I just do not understand at all. I'm sorry.
but these are worlds. These are what are called fandoms that exist within the internet, and these people have these weird fetishes, and it's kind of normalized. When I first heard of a brony, and just to let you know what it is, it's like a man that is into My Little Pony, and I believe, and I might be getting my facts wrong here, and I thought this was kind of a satire when I first heard about it, because I remember, like, when I was a kid, that was when the toys first came out, and the girls were crazy for them, and of course the boys, we all played with our action figures, and probably quite a lot of those boys were like, oh, I really want to play with a My Little Pony, but I've got to stick to social norms. I thought it was kind of a backlash to that, but it's like this weird obsession with My Little Pony, and even to an extent some of these people have, I believe, sexual interests in.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Isn't there like a similar thing with Care Bears as well?
Well, okay, well, Chris is part of all of these furries, bronies, these, and I always was thinking about it today, because I don't know who first brought these things to, well, not the mainstream, but the subcultures that they are. But Chris, to an extent, as you could say, he may have been the first ever Let's Player when he made a documentary walking around his Animal Crossing or whatever it was. He could also be the founder of Bronyism or whatever it is, because he made a video when he was 25, which would be like 13 years ago or something like that. And where he was encouraging boys to play with My Little Ponies to learn. I mean, he made this video, and I don't know if you've seen it, where he it was like his message, and like, I'm autistic, but I'm really great, and this is what I should. It's really funny, the intro to the video, because he like goes, guys and gals or something like that, and then he goes, dudes of all teenagers. But yeah, he talks about how boys should play with My Little Ponies to learn the feminist things in women, and how girls should play with, I can't remember what it was, some other kind of toy. But this is a guy, like, even before, I suppose, the trolling and all the things that happened to him happened, he was, you would say he definitely had a difficulty separating fantasy from reality.
Well, yeah, I mean, that I've only watched part one of this documentary, and that seemed to be quite evident from a very early age, didn't he? And then obviously he got exposed to the YouTube world, which we'll discuss in more detail later.
And then it's all went to shit.
Well, and then we briefly touched on the troll sagas in the last stream, so I don't want to go too deep into them. But the more of it, I mean, some of the trolling, it was outright cruel, and it's going to fuck you up. But the trouble is, because I think he has such a difficulty separating reality from fiction, and the sort of person, like, if someone says to them that they're not strong, will then go on YouTube and make a video proving their strength by breaking Lego blocks. If you are a troll, that person is going to be too tempting not to just go for, even if they are an easy target. But as to why Chris has become Christine Chan, I actually think that he's a lot more. Like I said in the last one, I quite like the way he talks sometimes, and he comes up with some interesting names for things, and like turning evil people's names backwards. If you're familiar with the Sonichu characters, the evil villain is Nate-Zurk, which is Christian backwards. And now when Donald Trump was running for office, he kept referring to him as Pemert, like, because he's a bad man. And I don't know, I find that those kind of quirks quite not bad of a character, but then there are plenty of parts of his character that is terrible. And he's
charming in a way then?
Sorry?
Charming in a way?
Yeah, I do. I think sometimes he can be kind of charming and funny. He's not, but yeah, he's so, I guess, gullible and naive. And he it's been clear for a long time he's a sexual deviant as well, I would say. And I don't know how much you can say, well, is that because of his autism that he doesn't understand social normalities to that extent. But like he's got words like for sexual things. He calls vagina China. He's like I love China. And he calls his semen navy. That's the only two I can think of right now, but it's fucking quite strange. Those bits aren't endearing, the stuff that he has weird terms for sexual stuff, but I mean, people got him to do a lot of fucked up sexual things, like making him fuck his PlayStation and stuff.
Yeah, well, well, you don't really want to talk about the trolling element, but you can't really do that because the trolling is what's made him become who he is.
Do you think that, or do you think he would always maybe have once come to like realise that he? I don't. If this is what I was about to say, I don't even think he's a woman trapped in a man's body in his mind.
No, I think it's just another one of his crazy phases. I think it's just it's his way of being a bit different.
I think he thinks he'll get closer to more women and have more chance with them. This is a guy that's been on a love quest ever since he's come into the public limelight. And I think Christine, personally, I think he's playing on the culture of social justice. Like, I can say this and no one can say anything because everyone has to be nice, because now we can all say that we're whatever gender we want and it's all fine. And I'm going to pretend to be a woman so that women feel more comfortable around me and then I can get closer to them. That's my theory.
Yeah, it's a strange one, isn't it? Because you can attribute a lot of his behaviour to the autism, but yeah, I know people that are autistic and certainly don't behave like that. But obviously, every it's not
almost.
Yeah, you can't attribute every case of autism exactly the same as the other. It's all about the human psyche.
Well,
which means everybody's different.
His parents, in my opinion, definitely played a part. Like they could have done better at parenting.
Weren't they very old when they? Not very old, but weren't they quite old to have him?
No, they were very old. They were 40. I think they were both over 50 when they had him.
No, I don't think I think the mum was 40. I think he was over 50.
Right.
But it's still
in her 70s now, but I could be wrong.
Is that his mum in the videos? I thought that was his grandmother.
No, that's his mum. Did you see the begging videos?
Oh yeah, I was just before we did this. I had a look and God, they're weird. Literally, I take it he doesn't have a job.
No.
And he just begs people for money online.
Yes.
Yeah, well, he gets he was getting $900. We discussed this briefly in the last thing. He was getting $900 a month, but it's been cut down to $500 recently on Patreon itself. And then he does other things.
But what are people giving him the money for? What's he offering for the Patreon?
You have to understand the extent that this whole thing has got to. I mean, it's blown up. Like, this is a subculture probably with many more people than even the church.
Oh yeah, no, I'm fully aware, because what started happening when I started picking up a lot of subs on my channel, I started to get a lot of people messaging me asking me to do videos on Christian Chandler, and I couldn't even be bothered looking up who this person was because I had enough material on loan to keep me going. But it always stuck in my mind. I'm like, who is this guy? Why are people so interested? And the amount of people that wanted me to make videos about him. And obviously,
the thing is, it is really interesting because even when you look at it from a psychological aspect, he's writing these comic books where he writes himself into them as the mayor of the town, and everyone adheres to his rules. And yet he writes things that are happening for real life. People appear as characters in his comic books, and yet, if someone's done wrong by him, he'll write about it in his comic book and then destroy them in the comic book.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, the thing is, his behaviour or the kind of person he is isn't unusual. It's just the fact that it's plastered all over YouTube. It's the only. I don't see anything in him that's particularly abnormal. Do you understand what I'm saying?
He's been targeted by. I'm sorry. How is I keep getting a really bad echo.
Yeah, I keep getting a bad echo from you, Adam, every time you talk.
Yeah.
I'm hardly saying anything.
Is it coming from my end? Sorry, guys, about this. Yeah. What was I just saying about Chris Chan? Or should we swap to Skype?
I think we're gonna have to because this is shit.
Because the echo is not working. Let's swap to Skype to see if it's better.
Right.
Give us 1 second, guys. Well, I'll still be here in the stream. I'm just gonna hang up on these two and call them back. Right, they're gone. Well, there's definitely no echo now. I'm not talking to anyone else. But do bear with me just a quick moment. Right, if I call Andy, add to group call. Right, sorry guys. Hey guys. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, can hear you.
I still getting an echo from you, Andy.
Yeah, I'm just turning my volume right down. Should be fine.
Yeah, that's much better. Right, what were we just saying? Sorry.
Oh, that's a proper.
Sorry, how?
I think we're talking about Chris Chan.
well, yeah, but
yeah, that was the whole topic of the stream, but specifically what we were talking about.
Oh, his mum and the begging videos on YouTube.
Yes, his mother. I got the impression Luke's like she's got mental health problems as well.
I don't really know. Well, that might come with age. I wouldn't want to speculate on it.
No, but what I'm saying is she's buying into whatever's going on. Well, what surprised me? Well, it's not really a surprise. Well, I suppose it was. When I watched the first documentary, it comes from a very... his dad was like responsible for a load of patents on certain technologies.
Yeah. His dad
did quite well for himself.
Electronics and stuff, yeah. Well, I think that's kind of right why he was sort of so, like, his dad was clearly interested in the new technology such as consoles, and that's why he got so into it. I mean, you think about his comic creation of Sonichu, and it's like he's really worried about people stealing his idea, even though it's literally just taking two characters and putting them together. And yeah, it's very creative, but it's so sort of amateurish at the same time. It draws people in, but the people that target him as the trolls, in regards to like the amount of what you were asking, that's what it was. Sorry, Andy, you were asking why he gets so much money on his Patreon. You have to remember there's so many like white knights out there, people that are just, if you have a following, there's probably a lot of people that stay silent that feel very sorry for him. Like, I don't think personally, and this is my personal opinion, not the views of anyone or anything else, but I don't think he should be given money. He's capable of working and he should get a job. He shouldn't be on the internet begging.
No, but at the end of the day, if people want to give him money, that's their problem,
It's their money at the end of the day, so...
He can beg all he fucking wants. I mean, people...
You saw the merchandise link I sent to you. I mean, to be fair, some of the Sonichu merchandise and some of the comedy pictures people have drawn of. I mean, the fan art around the guy is insane. And it's like, there's so much great fan art that other people have done that it's just like, you can go online and you can buy pictures people have drawn and get it put on like a glass cube or a t-shirt.
Yeah, what's interesting about Chris Chan for me, really interesting, is that his whole persona now and the way he is is 100%. Well, not 100%, but the majority of it is all down to. Well, we're all our personalities are a product of the past and what's happened to us, but his is a product of continual YouTubing and wanting for attention. He likes attention.
Yeah.
He craves it, and YouTube gave him the perfect platform. He is a typical example of a modern day clown, but yet rather than be in the town square getting tomatoes thrown at him, he's on YouTube and gets ridiculed. The same as Lorne, but to a bigger extent.
Yeah, I'd agree with that analogy. Yeah, he's like the internet idiot rather than the village idiot. The thing is, if he was playing into it, he could probably do. I mean, maybe he's doing the best he could. Like I say, I mean, $500 a month on page. His channel's only got about 27. I mean, I say only, but it's got about 27,000 subscribers. So. But I guess lots of people know him from all because he puts all like his artwork, and people on his Patreon get, like I believe, get special Sonichu issues that other people don't get to see.
Danny do, and hello Danny, by the way. He's been a long time follower of our stuff, and he just said Christian's life is a Black Mirror episode. He is the result of everything going wrong on the internet, which is, just another way of saying, what I've just said. It's very, very true. It is like, that's exactly what it is. That's what I find interesting. It's like there's no happy ending for him, is there? Like, you just look at him now, and it's pretty sad to see the way he was at the beginning of that documentary where he's a little kid and he's just discovering how to manage his autism. But he has a degree of intelligence, and that's what...
There's a video... that he made when he was a kid, and he's kind of pissed off in the video, but he's talking about getting an F at school.
Oh, he has to go at his teacher.
Yeah,
but very interesting, that, isn't it?
It's like in black and white, and the way he's talking is very much kind of like old-timey radio presenter. And I was like, this is kind of cool, the way he's talking. Is he like imitating someone from the radio? Because it's interesting. And then you think like that kid making that little radio thing he's now putting tweets out about how he's going to give people blowjobs for money.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty fucked up. What's it like? He said, well, I think he's going to suck dicks for $50.
Yeah, I must admit, when you sent me that link to that or the picture or whatever it was, I thought it was some kind of a joke, but I think he actually means it, doesn't he?
I think he's trying to embrace his trans lifestyle now. So now but then you never know. Maybe deep down, often people who are the most homophobic deep down are homosexual. So that could have been why he was so homophobic in the old videos. I mean, this is kind of reflected in the Sonichu comics.
An interesting point, that.
Well, it's kind of reflected in the Sonichu comics as well, because it's like. People often pointed out there was kind of what's the word, like when you imply something without meaning it, like he would draw female characters that look like men, for example, but yeah, so I mean I don't really know what this Christine the thing is. I hate to say it, but it's quite hard to look at.
Do you know what I thought you were going to say then?
What?
You're going to go like, I hate to say it, but I actually quite fancy her. I was like, I finally spent too much time on YouTube.
I hate to say it, but yeah, I wouldn't mind a go on that Christine Chan.
We'll see.
Yeah, no, that's not what I was going to say. No, I find her quite difficult to look at.
It's disturbing, isn't it? Because, well, it's not. I mean, all he's done is put a fucking wig on and a shite dress. You know what I mean? It's not like,
But he's like someone that feels so out of place on the internet. He tries to fit into every kind of place on the internet. It's why I mentioned like the bronies and the furries earlier. I mean, he went to BronyCon. Chris Chan went to BronyCon and he asked for money on his channel so that he could go on the trip to go to BronyCon.
I still can't believe there's an actual fucking BronyCon though.
Well, it's something I'll never get my head around. I mean, there's so much kind of, even like the more, I guess, known about stuff I can't get my head around. People are using words regularly now, like waifu and senpai, and I don't know what these things mean. It all came from anime, and that sort of thing. The thing is, growing up in the UK, we didn't really get much anime on TV. We had Speed Racer. Speed Racer was fantastic, but people are growing up in these sort of weird anime worlds where they grow up with cartoon. Please correct me in the chat if I'm wrong or if anyone disagrees, but I believe with kind of Japanese anime cartoons, there's a lot more kind of, it's shown to kids, but there is a lot more sexual and kind of weird undertones in it.
Oh God, we're opening up a can of worms there, but yeah, I think you're onto something.
Well, and this is like where the furry culture has come from. It's, you know, and drawing these. I mean, this is the thing with Chris. Like, people were taking his drawings, right, of his Sonichu character, and they were making them into gay things because he hated gays so much. Like, there's a fantastic drawing of Sonichu with like a black cap and a leather, like a lederhosen on, and he didn't like that. So what Chris did in retaliation, he drew loads of sexual pictures of his own characters, like doing straight sex, and it's all quite odd because what should be something quite innocent took this very dark turn into like Chris trying to prove that he's not a homosexual by drawing loads of pictures of creatures like Sonic, hedgehogs mixed with Pokemon. I mean, I must admit my ignorance here. I really know nothing whatsoever about Pokemon, but, you know, and that's, people are depicting these things in cartoons. So this whole cultures of, which came first, the furries and the bronies, or Chris Chan?
Well, I think they all like came up together in a way.
So, I mean, maybe the only reason these things happened or became as popular as they are is due to the fact it all happened around Chris Chan. And that's only a theory, I'm sure people might...
I think... Yeah, I don't think you could ever prove or disprove that. Well, you probably could, but I think it all happened at the time that there was the YouTube boom, shall we say, where YouTube culture took off and certain people profited from it, and it became a daily part of people's lives. I mean, the thing is, it's quite not a big part, but it's a part of our lives, Adam. You know, your main channel, you spent, how many hours have you spent doing that? It's prevalent in a lot of people's lives, YouTube. Some people don't watch TV, so, and then think about my mate, who's little girl's like 6, she watches YouTube videos, and he's finding it very difficult. This is probably a discussion for another time, but he's finding it difficult to manage the amount of time that she spends on it because she started getting angry when he tries interacting with her one-to-one. Like, she'll get angry and you have to like take it off her. So it affects, and for somebody like Chris Chan, he's like a child, isn't he?
Oh yeah, I mean,
so that's why
most of his life playing video games, not really, and all, I believe, like, you know, 80-90% of his human contact is via chat forums. And
exactly. And what will happen if a human being whose main source of interaction with people is on YouTube, you will go crazy because it's not real. You're missing, you know, we're not genetically made to fucking interact with people via a computer screen. That's not what human beings are for, you know. So of course it's going to have side effects on your physical, your physical and mental health, which is, you know, with him, he just doesn't live in reality. The point of what that website says is that he doesn't live in reality anyway because of his autism. But of course, to have autism means you look at the world a little bit differently. He does as well. But of course, that's magnified so many times because of this. Because he's been led up the garden path by all these people. He's been trolled continuously by people, bullied, ridiculed, tortured.
There's a really interesting letter that one of his high school teachers sent. Middle school teacher sent him before he started high school. And it almost foreshadows everything that happens in saying that don't show people your weaknesses because then they'll use them against you, or words to that effect. And yet it's what he does. Like,
because he doesn't know how to not do that. That's where his autism kicks in. He doesn't know. He will never. You could send him through hundreds and hundreds of hours of therapy, and he will still make them same mistakes because that autism means his brain just isn't wired like the majority of people's are.
Well, I would say that no, that's untrue, and I think he's a high functioning autistic, and
yeah, that just means he's capable of doing intelligent things.
It's not like he shouldn't be incapable of putting himself in other people's shoes, and I think as he gets older, he should have developed better.
So what are you saying, that it's his fault?
No, I'm not. It's not totally his fault, but he has to take. Oh, sorry.
Sorry. Maybe because his parents were fairly old-fashioned, and he grew up years before a lot of the stuff was maybe more acceptable. Then maybe that had an effect on all of the stuff that's happening now. I don't know.
It's a good point, that, because if you think about it, the fact that his parents are old-fashioned, and they were of the older generation anyway, especially his father, that's going to have will have had an effect on him. And YouTube being maybe further on than what we should be at this level of advancement and what we are as a species, that is all going to contribute to how he is.
I just think, though, as well, it's almost offensive to him if you say, well, blame it on his autism, or his autism excuses some of his behaviours, because it's not like he's incapable of of emotional growth.
No, I'm not saying it is, but what I am saying is you can't ignore autism. Look, let's put it this way, right? If he didn't have autism, we wouldn't even be talking about him. Do we agree with that?
Okay, but if he didn't have autism and he still acted in the way he did, which I think it would be possible for someone. I mean, I know we've done quite well in not mentioning this evening, but you could draw a lot of parallels with Chris Chan and our mate Lorne Armstrong, because neither of them ever seem to learn.
Yeah, but what my point was, if Chris Chan didn't have autism, he wouldn't have been internet. He wouldn't have been internet infamous. He wouldn't have been the YouTube celebrity, if you want to call him that. I don't know what to refer to.
Well, the thing is, when I was looking a bit deeper into this today, kind of some of the stuff behind what he does, there is kind of a goodness to it. Like, with his solitude thing, and I don't know how much the people say just whatever to him when they're trolling him to get him on the hook or whatever, but I believe he sees himself as some kind of representative of all autistic people, and like, well, look at what you can do. I made my own comic book. I'm internet famous. Which almost to an extent behind sort of say, yeah, I can do this. The trouble is just everything that surrounds him is so sort of murky, because there's all this weird sexual stuff and that. And of course he has human needs, everyone does, but even with autism or not with autism, he's done a lot of creepy things. Now, those things don't probably justify the extent of the trolling has done.
Yeah,
but
they've been blown out of proportion, because what's happened with him is, right, you've got somebody in, let's just call it the public eye or whatever. You've got someone in the limelight. Because he's an easy target, there will always be a group of people online that will love to fucking ridicule him, to bully him, to harass him, to make fun of him, to make themselves feel better. The exact definition of bullying and ridicule. So when he does something that could be deemed as being offensive or even bad, they will jump all over it and say, Luke, he's bad at what I'm doing. My bullying is justified because he's bad. And it's exactly the same with the Lorne stuff.
But this, I think,
with-
this then brings almost a completely different debate into like because it is trolling ever justified, but if it
We'll get
is,
onto that another time.
yeah, but like the thing is that there's been so many sagas in the Chris Chan story, but some of them have been like very well. The Liquid Chris saga is pretty. I was thinking about this today, and I was like, do you know what? I might just put on a hat and get a guitar and sing bad country songs and call myself Liquid Lawn, and then just try and claim Lawn's YouTube channel.
You fucking not. That's my idea. I can play guitar. You can't.
Well, true.
Well, you might be able
but
to.
then,
But
well, then
you've
I
not
thought I
told
could.
me.
I can't.
Listen to this though. Right? I thought, well, I could merge the two worlds because in the battle between Solid and Liquid Chris, Solid Chris played a fake PlayStation guitar, didn't he? So I thought I could just play that and then claim to be the real Lawn. The trouble with claiming to be the real Lawn is he is on the sex offenders register, and then I realised that and thought, I don't want to pretend
Well,
to be a sex
YouTube don't
offender.
mind. They don't mind the real Lawn being Lawn. So why would they mind us being Lawn?
Yeah,
It
but
wouldn't.
but anyway, yeah, that would have been a great idea to.
Can I just interrupt you, Adam, before I forget? Danny Do has said a while ago, but I've not had a chance to read his message. He said we should invite a guy called
Sachumo.
Sakumo to one of these discussions.
Well,
He
yeah,
has a
I'll
documentary.
send him a message if he'd be interested.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
why don't you send him a message from your main channel, and then he's more likely to respond.
Yeah, but then it looks a bit bad, doesn't it? Message him from a channel with 15,000 subscribers, say, oh, by the way, you're coming on my channel with 900.
Yeah, but it's better than me messaging him from mine with 600 subscribers and saying hi.
No, I'll
Um,
message him from this
with
channel,
no
and if he's responsive, I'd love to get a chat with him because that was the first ever Chris Chan documentary I saw, and it was really well put together. Now I've been
Yeah,
watching.
really good. If we could get him on, we could have a really good in-depth chat about it all.
I can, yeah. I mean, I've started watching which I've put a link to in the stream, the Gino Samuel documentary as well, which is really detailed. But yeah, there's a lot of information out there. The thing is, though, even with this, well, for me, it's so good because I love something I can read, and I've just discovered the quickie. And I'm just like, wow, there's so much details here. The difficulty I do have with it is that a lot of it's written from the perspective of we hate Chris. But you get so much information in there. There's so
Yeah,
much.
but we're sort of what's interesting about this discussion now, and where it's sort of we're sort of heading towards is we're trying to figure out how much blame can be attributed to Chris. So basically, how responsible is he for the situation that he's in? So, as human beings, we all have to take responsibility for our actions and can't ever play the victim. Otherwise, that's just not the way that you get anywhere in life. But with somebody with a condition that separates you from the rest of the world and makes you a bit different and life a bit harder, it's interesting. Where do you draw the line? So with him, he's a high functioning autistic person. Now, before we get into that, whether this is the time to do it, maybe not, but very briefly, you have to try and not get attached to the words too much, because when you get an idea of autism in your head, your mind starts to conjure up things which necessarily aren't true. So basically, the easiest way of thinking about it is you've got someone who doesn't look at the world like everybody else does, like the majority of people. And he's thrown into the ring, and he's in a public forum, and he's getting ridiculed, and he's getting told to do things that he doesn't quite understand. So his version of reality is distorted to begin with, and then becomes even more distorted. So how much of this overall situation could be attributed to just him being a dick, or the world being cruel, or his condition?
Well, no, actually, the more we're talking about it and actually looking kind of at what some of people are saying in the chat, yeah, I don't think it's so interesting because I don't personally have anything against the guy or anything. I find all of this very amusing, and how much material there is out there to watch, and just once you fall down this rabbit hole, how much you can find if you start looking about. It's a very curious case.
It is.
But the thing, I mean, the main thing you can say from probably, maybe I've seen 10% of everything that's happened out there, and maybe you've seen like 7, if that. Because even these documentaries that go on for 6 hours, there's so much stuff has happened to this guy online.
Oh, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, and so, I mean, I found a chat log today of him talking to, there was a guy who was stood up for him called Robert Simmons V, and then he ended up talking to Robert Simmons' cousin or something. I didn't get too far into it, but I started reading the chat log, and I was like, this is really interesting. Actually, I was reading it, I was like, the way Chris talks is kind of normal and polite during this chat. I almost felt like he seemed very willing to listen, and both of them, well, for at least the first half of the chat log, seemed very amicable towards each other, and it was.
I noticed in that first part of the documentary when he was talking about his teachers and things like that, some of what he said was like really quite profound statements and really kind of poetic, really. It was like talking about his teacher and how nice she was and how everybody was like her, it'd be great. And the way that some of the words that he used to describe the war, although he didn't quite understand what was going on, he made like a comparison to like a football field or something along that. And I thought, isn't that a good way to describe it? So he has, and that's what you find with a lot of autistic people. They don't necessarily look at things like everybody else, but they have certain gifts that.
And sometimes it's refreshing, like the way.
Yeah, it's nice. It's endearing, is it? You meet somebody like that, and it's endearing to see someone. Generally, they don't seem to have a big egos, but with him, he kind of does. I think maybe that's where the thing. That's why people feel justified in ridiculing him and bullying him. And I fucking hate shit. I mean, ironically, my channel was taken down because of bullying. So maybe I'm being an hypocrite. It has been said before.
I think bullying a sex offender is slightly more acceptable.
But this is the thing, though. How, to be honest, I don't. Let's just say I did bully Lorne with the amount of videos that I made. Right, it's still not justified just because I see him as a bad person. Bullying someone, whoever they are, unless I'm doing it to stop innocent people getting hurt, it's never really justified, because it's not my place as a human or anybody else's to tell anybody else how to live. They're responsible for their own lives. So unless somebody is actively hurting someone and you're doing it to stop them, it's never justified. Although, of course, the child predators, if we can call them that, are always seen as the lowest of the low in society. I mean,
well, I don't think your videos were ever bullying any of them. I mean, even we made a couple of videos where we kind of just did.
We took the piss out of them.
They were more satirical, I would have said. But your videos where you just talked about them was analysing. I think maybe just because of the volume of them.
That was it. Like... Maybe it's not something to get into on this video because we don't want to discuss Lorne. We'll do it another time. But very briefly, let's just try and float it out there. Did the amount of videos I made about Lorne, did that amount to bullying?
Well, I think it's and it's the same with Chris Chan, because you can ask exactly the same ethical question here. Is what we're doing now harmful towards him in any way? And personally, I don't think it can be.
No. It's more, looking at it in an analytical sense, whereas, going out to harm him would count as bullying him, but, that's not what we're doing.
No.
But let's say that... Let's say Chris Chan sat there at home now, and he comes across this stream, and he finds it offensive that we are talking about him. There's a different way. There's different ways of looking at that. One of them is he puts himself in an internet forum. In other words, he has a channel. It's YouTube. Tough shit. People can make as many videos about you as they want because you've put yourself in that position. It's like celebrities whinging that they get the paparazzi following them. I'm sorry, that's the business that you're in, and you have to accept it. So it's the same with
But then-
YouTube. If
but
you have,
This is it though. Even if that is a negative thing that people start doing about you, you can see why someone, to an extent like Chris, starts to think he's internet famous. If people start making loads of fan art of you, and loads of videos about you, even to an extent, I'm sorry we've made so many comparisons to him, but you can see why Lorne was misguidedly thought he was internet famous as well. But, even people have drawn pictures and things of those guys. I'm just getting a bit jealous now because no one's ever made any fan art of me. Love someone to make a picture of me.
loads of people have done it about me.
Yeah, but it's always like you bumming a sheep.
No, them are real photographs.
Those are just photos. Fuck, sorry, I was getting confused. Sorry. That was just the...
Yeah, I'd like to apologise about that, Adam.
Yeah, that was just you two sending me photos of your holidays to Wales. Sorry, any Welsh people.
Sorry
It's
about
a
that.
very
Sorry about
cheap
that. I
joke.
didn't mean them to get out.
It was a very cheap joke, or should I say sheep joke. Anyway, sorry. Back to Chris's Skeleton Siski said Sir Edward News. Ooh. And I was like, wait, I was talking about fan art, wasn't I? And I was like, oh no, people could have got confused with Andy and his sheep. We've gone off the rails.
Well, so was Chris Chan.
Well, yeah. Well, now he's a lady. Now he's Christine Chan. In fact, I think he gets quite offended if you refer to him, I believe, as Chris Chan now.
The thing is, I'm gonna have to watch I'm planning to watch this whole documentary series to have like a story about how he's become what he is. I can't remember everything that happened. But of course, it is a crazy journey, isn't it? Because didn't he get like continually trolled by a group of people pretending to be women that weren't real, bit like Lorne.
Well, yeah, he did. There's been a lot of what is referred to as his sweethearts in the Chris Chan saga. I mean, you've got the original one who was real, Megan, but then you've got I think it's Ivy, the Wallflower.
Oh, that's an interesting point. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Adam, but I do like doing that because it is your channel. Is he a virgin?
Not anymore. Apparently, he went to a prostitute.
Right. Is that? I mean, I was going to say, is that confirmed? But I will confirm it. Is that generally believed to be true?
Yeah.
And is that the only sexual encounter he's ever had?
I believe so. However, in the screenshots that I saw, where I was saying about him offering blowjobs for $50. Well, in the screenshots that I saw, he said that someone sent him a message. I was going to say I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this, but it's out there on the internet, so I'm sure it doesn't matter. Someone sent him a message saying, my friend's coming to visit for a furry convention. He would be interested in the blowjob. And he replied and said, how much experience do you have? And Chris, and of course, these things online can be manipulated. So I'm not saying this is fact, but this is the screenshot I saw. And he replied saying, I'm experienced, but only with one close lover or something at giving blowjobs, and it'll be $50 or $100 for butt sex.
200 for butt sex, but
Is that how? Are you just like getting your wallet out? Counting.
Just gonna nip to the lavatory.
maybe.
So
You all know my one true love is actually Sir Edward, but
sorry, how you broke up a bit. Your microphone it's not doing you any favors.
sorry. You know my one true love is actually Sir Edward.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's rather gay. Well, that's all right. I can turn you around. Put a wig on you. You all look the same. Anyway, yes, that's enough of that. It's getting creepy. Andy leaves the room, and Hal's coming on to Sir Edward.
Sorry about that, everyone. Sorry.
Chris was Danny. He used to be anti-gay, but now he he said he was a lesbian, but I think now he likes men as well. I don't know. It seems like he just doesn't care anymore. It's insane.
Part of me thinks he believes his own bullshit, but
I'm
Yeah.
back.
I don't know. I mean, because some of the funniest things he said, although they're pretty terrible, but when he made that, he goes, I don't have a problem with women. I love women. I don't have a problem with men, but I hate the homos. It's just like, what?
You see, that's the perfect ammunition for people to have a go at him, isn't it? And, like, oh, look what he said, all these... And think about it. We live in the world... Sorry, we live in
People
the
don't
age
forget
of...
that shit.
We live in the age of the SJWs, don't we? And you know our feelings on those fuckers, and they ruined Star Wars. I just thought I'd get that in there.
That was actually... Andy, if you hadn't heard of furries, I'd planned an analogy to you, and I was going to be like, well, imagine if people dressed up as Ewoks and fucked each other.
Well, that is an ongoing fantasy of mine.
Wow. Anything to do with Star Wars with you'd fuck the...
I was kind of hoping that, when you came and met me at the airport that time, you'd be wearing a Star Wars costume for me, but also, unfortunately, that didn't happen.
No, it's just naked like normal.
Well, half naked, half Star Wars costume.
That wasn't a lightsaber.
Slave costume.
Sorry, I just cut you out.
Princess Leia slave costume.
Exactly.
Right, well, I don't know about this thing, and we're not having any more Star Wars talk. I mean...
Okay, I thought I'd mention it maybe once. Got to get it in there once.
And I think we may well have mentioned this on the last thing as well. You do remember the one, I mean, we've talked about the trolling. Yes, it isn't fair, but Chris has done some pretty irresponsible things in his life, like pepper spraying a GameStop worker because they were changing the color of Sonic the Hedgehog's arms.
Yeah, and you can't... we'll put it this way, right? Would he get off with that in a court of law? He wouldn't, would he? He'd get prosecuted. They wouldn't take into account his autism, would they?
Apparently, he's getting prosecuted for like trespassing or something. But
Oh, he went to jail at least for a couple of nights because they took mugshots off him, didn't they?
Can I just respond to what Danny said in the comments? Sorry to interrupt. No, we'll do that later. I apologise for interrupting. Carry on, guys. Sorry.
Okay. I mean, but yeah, some of the trolling towards him, it was maybe harmless is the wrong word, but the Liquid Chris stuff was hilarious. Well, let's think about the title of the stream itself, though, guys. What do you think?
Are you trying to ask, Adam?
Let's take autism
articulate
out of the
your question because
question
you're
and-
having trouble.
No, I'm just trying to think how to word this to elicit the best responses.
While you do that, can I just respond to Danny's question? Danny's just asked me, does Andy know about Yaddle? Well, Yaddle was on the Jedi Council from episode 1, who was a member of Yoda's species, I believe. So we'll just leave it there. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, Adam. I apologise.
Yes, fucking Star Wars.
Listen.
You should go to a Star Wars convention.
Hey, me and my mate were going to go last week, right? But I got a call from work asking me to go in for a fucking ridiculous amount of money, so I didn't end up going.
Yeah, well, that's a shame. You didn't get to live out your fantasy being gangbanged by stormtroopers.
I still managed to fulfill that fantasy. Don't worry. The ridiculous amount of money I earn from work.
If you replace the word stormtroopers with lorry drivers.
Well,
Anyway.
X-Wing flyers, actually.
Yeah, so do you think Chris would have begun Christine if he hadn't been trolled? Let's simplify it down to that. Do you think he would still be a homophobic?
Not in the no.
China
He'd still be
chasing-
crazy because the world's crazy and he would be exposed to it. But it wouldn't anywhere be near. I think No, not at all. I think, in fact, it's ludicrous to suggest he wouldn't. You don't think, Adam? What do you
No.
think?
Do you think any of the trolling was done with good intent?
How can trolling be good? Well,
Well, sometimes you can use your position to try and improve someone's life. I mean, if you read some of the chat logs...
That's what I thought was happening at the beginning of the Lon Ramona stuff. I thought that it was to try and, straighten him out, but then I just realised it was just to fucking try and destroy him. So maybe you've got a point. I don't know. I don't know enough about the extent of it. What do you think, How?
Well, maybe because, as we covered before, a lot of people who are homophobic do end up as, in the closet, as it were. And he has, been brought up in a very conservative family, so maybe, but at the same time, maybe this is just another of, these Chris Chan sagas, as it were. Chris Chan being Christine or whatever.
I see what you're saying about his father, because I suppose his dad was a very old-fashioned man, I believe, and maybe he was influenced not to don't like the old gays, son. Don't know where they've been, and so he may have been afraid to like that sort of, because his sort of hatred towards homosexuals seemed to be a recurring theme from very early when he became prominent on the internet.
I don't know, maybe with his autism, he didn't really know how to express it, but this is just me guessing at this point, so...
Spazzy's just said on here, and I think she's responding to the question about whether he, it was kind of his own doing, and she said he did indeed create his own result. He should not have had access to the internet if he were unable to handle it. And of course, that's very true. But I still can't help but think that because of his condition, he can't. Personal responsibility is very, very different. You can't really, and this is the fascination for me is how much personal blame is there with him, and how much of a role does his autism play in what's happened? Not internet trolling. This autism, how much of a role because we've got an eccentric, high-functioning autistic person on YouTube spouting shite. Perfect ammunition for a load of freaks and losers to have a go at him, and that's exactly what happened.
Let me ask you a bit of a different question. Do you think he's unhappy?
What now?
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever been happy from what I can see. He's always been troubled, hasn't he?
Do you think he's I don't know, because he's got his whole own world. I haven't got my whole own world.
Yeah, but having your own world that isn't
real,
that isn't real is not happiness. That's just what is that? It's not happy. How can that's not happiness? Because if you're in your own world, it'll get that illusion, that bubble will burst any moment. So how can that be happiness? Ignorance. I think what you're pointing at, Adam, is ignorance is bliss.
Yeah. Well, that's...
But it kind of it is in a way, and then it isn't in another way.
But do you think, right, in Chris's mind itself, do you think he would rather be working at Wendy's or Burger King or wherever it was he worked before, or would he just be begging on the internet? And then, we don't even know what he's true when he's talking about his mortgage payments on the internet and that sort of thing. So, but do you think he prefers that life, or what is stopping him really from walking away from the internet?
He's addicted to the attention, I would say. And Spazzy's made a good point. He begs for money online. So in other words, he knows enough about it to know that he can grab people's attention. He is addicted to the attention. But my point is, would he ever be in this position without his autism? So therefore, is it not then? If he wouldn't be in this position because of his autism, could we then not all agree that it's unfair the position that he's in?
Well, that's what I was trying to ask earlier, though. Take the autism away and say, like, he'd done the things he'd done if he wasn't autistic. It's still the same, but so whether he's autistic or not, I don't think the extent of the trolling or harmful trolling is ever justified. But then some of the trolling has been fucking... I mean, there's a clip of one of the videos where he goes, "Oh, the pickle man tricked... The man in the pickle suit tricked me again." And it's just like, because in real life, people were turning up in pickle suits. Fucking hell. I mean, that is... It's not nice, but...
At the same
You
time,
can still have a laugh about it.
It's determined. And it's not even that horrible. Like, if someone sent a man in a pickle suit to your work tomorrow to take the piss out of you, it's quite... I don't know, yeah. So, I mean, some of it was genius. And just the fact that, like, if no one had done that, you would never have that clip with him going, "The man in the pickle suit tricked me again." He's so dejected, and I shouldn't be laughing. This makes me such a cruel bastard.
Well, but you're bringing up another interesting point here, Adam, and we can make parallels to Lorne as much as we're trying not to. We'll do a video about that another time, but we get humour out of it. So does that, and I've been obviously accused of this in the past, is we get humour out of a situation we don't necessarily agree with, which is the essence of like Car Crash TV kind of thing. So what does that mean? I mean, yes, the teaching is don't take life too seriously, but you know, I mean, you love comedy. You used to do stand up, Adam. You're a funny guy, sort of. Your channel is mainly comedy. So where do you stand with it?
I really don't know, because when you even think about the word trolling, it's always kind of associated with sort of this dark art. And yeah, I think there can be like
funny trolling. Oh.
Yeah, I think if it's funny, it's fine. If someone puts themselves on the internet, they're open to trolling if it can be done in harmless kind of fun. I think the trouble is, maybe to an extent, with someone like Chris Chan, he's seen as such easy meat for trolling. And that's why it's happened to the extent it has. But I think in regards to comedy, I mean, surely trolling is an evolution of just taking the piss out of someone, but going to more of an extent. It's like taking the piss out of someone in a practical joke. But where the line falls on what's okay and what's not okay is a very difficult thing to draw.
No, but what you're saying, taking the piss, banter is taking the piss in good humour. In other words, it's not malicious. You're doing it for comedy, and you're doing it for someone who is able in a position to laugh at their own failings and laugh at their own, the human folly. But he's not. Neither's Lorne.
The thing is, but anyway, just to be a little bit compassionate in regards to the thing that Chris mostly gets trolled over is to do with love and meeting someone. And when you're lonely and you haven't had a partner, for a long time or ever, and if someone then pretends to be someone else, like I don't know if this makes it worse, because I had kind of some mates at work it's a bit of a personal story. I'd only been I didn't know these people that well, maybe 3 months. But anyway, I'd been out the weekend before, and I was kind of like, I'd been single for a long time. I met a girl, and she'd given me her number. So at work, I phoned her and left a message on her answer phone. And I was kind of all excitedly waiting for her to call back. And then eventually I got a message, and it was really flirtatious and nice. And then later on, I found out it was like the guy's girlfriend taking the piss because they'd seen how kind of excited I was about calling back from her. And I was like, how fucking hurtful can you be to someone, like, to not take someone's emotions into account like that? And at the same time, like, now looking back, I'm like, they did it because I was open about the fact I was excited about this person calling back. I showed them the weakness, and they just, yeah, I wasn't very happy about that whole situation. And it felt bad, man. It felt really bad.
So how do you draw comparisons with that, with Chris's situation?
That happened to me once on a small extent. Imagine, I mean, that happened. That was one answer phone message. Imagine you speak to someone for 3 months and then you find out they're not real.
I'm gonna have to be really careful not to fucking go into the lawn camp, because there are ridiculous, comparisons and similarities. But we'll do that another time. But you're right. It doesn't. It's never justified, is it? For a start, the person doing the trolling or whatever is fucking, you've really got to ask some serious questions there. Why would you want to do that to another person just for laughs? It's not banter, is it? It's not good humour. There's a difference.
And that's what I mean, I suppose, with the Liquid Chris thing, trying to take someone's identity through YouTube. That's a genius idea. It's very funny, very intelligent. Whereas so many people go for, I guess, what I would assume is the easy way of catfishing someone, and go for the thing that everyone wants, especially if you're a single guy putting yourself out on YouTube. Then, yeah, pretend to be a woman or whatever he wants now, $50 for a blowjob, but pretend to be that, and that's how you draw someone in. It's why so many, even adult women, so we're getting into the camp of my main channel now, but it's why, like, fully age-grown women send thousands of dollars to guys in Africa pretending to be a military sergeant in North Carolina.
Do you know, it's funny, I've never even thought about that comparison, Adam, right? Your channel is, you do well with that channel, and your body of work is ridiculing people. You call people to take the fucking piss out of them and ridicule them any way you can. But yet your behaviour is
they are
justified.
criminals, let's be clear.
Sorry?
They're criminals.
Of course, well, of course they are. Of course, I've never said they're not, but it's still it's an interesting. What you're saying is that what
I'm saying is the heart is the easy. It's everyone's Achilles heel if you're single.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so and so many people go for the easy troll with Chris. The genius trolls, the Liquid Chris, even to an extent Clyde Cash trying to talk him into sorting his life out. I mean, the thing with the Clyde Cash saga, and I don't know if you're fully aware of the whole thing, it's all a little bit dark, because something else I noticed whilst sort of looking into the back catalogue of Chris Chan is a lot of people have just killed off trolling characters, but if he believes these people are real, he must think there's been so much death going on in his life. It's a bit fucked, isn't it? But the Clyde Cash saga was because basically the trolls claimed that there was a guy, Ryan Cash, who really loved Sonichu, and when Chris went on hiatus from making the comic, he said no new ones were going to come out because some trolls had pissed him off or something. Ryan Cash then killed himself, which is why the Clyde Cash, who was apparently Ryan Cash's older brother, so he disliked Chris because his younger brother had killed himself because he wasn't making any more Sonichu comics. So then, he ended up sort of interacting loads with Chris and trying to tell him to sort his life out and stuff. But, okay, so the actual essence of the trolling itself, maybe trying to tell him to sort his life out, I can agree with. But telling people have killed themselves because you're not making a comic book, it's a bit dark.
Yeah.
Do you want to express your thoughts, you two, for a moment while I just grab a drink?
Yeah, of course. I'd like to ask you a question, actually. I mean,
you guys can't hear me now,
with all this,
you can't hear me now.
I don't know whether I've asked you directly. What do you think that you know a lot about this Chris Chan case? Do you think that how much responsibility do you think he really should be taking for the situation he's in? In other words, this autism thing, how much of a role do you think that plays?
I mean, I think It does play a fairly large role because I think most people, had they been trolled in the same way he had, would have taken a break from the internet, as it were, and then maybe try to come back in quietly. Whereas what Chris did was he wasn't able to see that these trolls what they were doing. So he kept on interacting with them in the wrong way. If you see what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a difficult one. But I don't know. I maybe I'm just a bit naive, but I just think that this everything that's happened to him, all these people having a go in his autism, and I just think that he's had a rough ride, and he should be given a bit of a break. Of course, he is generally, but I mean, he's being given a lot of money online every month, so.
I mean, $400 is nothing to be laughed at, is it?
No, that's a living. That's a living for a lot of people. That's a 40-hour-a-week job for a lot of people in the world. In fact, I believe if you earn over like $1,000 a month or something, you're in the you earn more than the majority on the planet or something. It's like less than 50% on that. Some kind of figure, I don't know. But in other words, you're right. It's not to be sniffed at, is it? Basically, it's a lot of money for doing fuck all, isn't it?
Mm. And I think now if he tries to go back into the workforce, he'll find it virtually impossible to find, a reputable employer.
Oh yeah, and
of who he is, and
yeah,
his ability.
Spazzy made a good point in the comments as well, that he knows enough about the world and enough about YouTube to beg for money. In other words, he knows he's going to get money from people if he begs. So he's not. He's intelligent enough to know enough about how money works and how people are, and that he can get money off people. So if he can stand there on YouTube and beg for money to pay his mortgage or whatever it is, I believe he was trying to get money to pay the rent, whether it's because I think he said foreclosure. Did you watch his last video, How?
Yeah. I mean, I went through, the subreddit this morning, so...
I watched it. And yeah, he was saying that they're going to get their house
foreclosed. They're going to foreclose.
Yeah.
I don't exactly know what that means because money's not my thing, but...
I believe it's when the bank takes it back and evicts you.
Oh, right, okay. That's fair enough. That's simple enough to understand.
But they have been paying their mortgage, apparently.
Yeah, so that in essence must mean then it's not just rent to a private. In other words, he must have been a mortgage. So what my point was, well, it's not my point, it's Spaz's point. If he knows enough about money and enough about people to beg for payments for his mortgage online, then he's got to take quite a lot of responsibility for the situation, for his ongoing situation.
Well, that's, I mean, to an extent, you could be kind of disappointed with him because he does have this platform, he's got 27,000 subscribers now. Okay, there's no money to be made in YouTube itself, but if he created good content rather than just begging...
He could actually grow his subscriber base significantly.
Well, not even, I mean, I think he could, his artwork, okay, it's pretty bad, but there's a charm to it. I can see why some people like it, it's all part of...
Yeah, it's quite endearing, isn't it?
Yeah. He can, if he was actually not so lazy, he could commission his art. I believe he sells quite a lot of stuff on eBay. The thing is, from the impression I get, and being someone who does have experience with YouTube, I know like YouTube itself won't be making him much money, but he has Patreon, he has his sites where he sells his merchandise and stuff. I don't think he's doing
as well.
He's doing too badly. So why the need for begging videos? Why not just work harder on that creative side?
because I think he spends, you know, an awful lot of money on stupid shit like, you know, Lego and stuff.
Well,
Not
that's
saying that Lego's, you know, stupid purchase, but he apparently spent, you know, a stupid amount on it.
okay. This is something else I was thinking about today. Because of his autism, he still plays. Or not. Sorry, that sounds terrible. That's not what I meant. But I think he thinks perhaps because of his autism he can get away with more, and he still kind of plays with toys and stuff. And to still at this age spend all that money on toys, it is a bit ridiculous. Now I know as a kid, like I'm gutted that I stopped playing with figures when I was maybe 12, because I was still enjoying. It was a creative thing to do. It's probably more creative to an extent than playing a video game or even reading a book, because you're creating story. It's more imaginative. You're creating stories for yourself, and I think kids playing with toys should be encouraged, because I think it helps their imaginations and overall their creativity. But I think that, and I guess because it was the social normality at the time, when I got to about 12 and went to secondary school where no one else played with figures, so I had to stop playing with figures. Occasionally I'd sneak them into the bathtub and have a little play in there with them. But
where are we going with this, Adam? Bathtub, toys.
No, not like that. but then, you know, I grew out of it, and I don't think anyone
didn't.
anyone ever. That's the other thing that, I mean, Chris has bought himself. He really has like a curiosity with weird sexual stuff as well, because in one of his videos he breaks a dildo or a vibrator, because to prove how strong he is. He finds a vibrator, and this is still at the time when he was like hating on homosexuals, and then he's got a vibrator in his room, and he's like, look how strong he is, but he tries to snap it and he can't actually snap it, so like the camera stops for a second, and then it opens up and he's like dismantled it, and he's like, yeah, look what I did, I'm so strong. But yeah, like he buys not just like kids toys but sex toys, and I don't know, he just sort of, it's a very strange way to live. I mean, there's a reason that social normalities tell you need to stop playing with toys at a certain age.
It's funny that I've never even thought about shit like that, Adam, but you have.
Sorry?
It's funny that I've never thought about when's the right time to stop playing with toys, but you have.
Why? When did you stop playing with toys?
Well, that's what I mean. I don't know. I've never thought about it.
You didn't have any. You just had a lump of coal because you lived in Manchester.
Oh, here we go again. The fucking insults about where are they? Fuck you, you posh bastard.
No, but didn't he? At least put a cider drinking bastard like me, so.
Wait, are you from Bristol? How?
Dorset.
Dorset. Oh, okay, yeah, just down there.
It'll take piss out of where you live soon enough.
Oh yeah, well they're well stupid down there as well. I mean, the only intelligent.
If we were any more inbred, we'd be in a fucking bakery. So.
Yeah, they are. That's anywhere sort of south of London. They all just have sex with their sisters. I'm quite offensive to all the geographies, but at least I don't discriminate, except for Oxfordshire.
That's true. You're quite fair in your ridiculing. Yeah. You're not discriminatory, are you? If that,
exactly.
You just like insulting everybody.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. You can't have a go in for singling certain groups out. Yeah. Whether it be race, gender.
I'll offend you, but I'll offend everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair enough. Can't really argue with that.
But yeah, so yeah, like to go back to Chris and his toys, you know, and like you said, you never thought about them. I mean, but surely, okay, think about it. I know you don't have kids, but if you had a kid, what would you? When would you never get to a point where maybe he gets to 14 and you kind of go, do you want to put the Legos? Well, not the Legos, because Legos are really creative. Like Legos are fine, but do you want to put the Action Man down, son? It's time to get a job.
And I think it's when they get to secondary school and all the cool older boys aren't really doing it. That's when they kind of like grow out of it, I think. So.
Yeah, I think that's when most people grow out of playing with toys. Yet Chris never had that.
Maybe because of his upbringing, I don't know.
Well, I think he's always had this strange kind of obsession, addiction to kind of toys and cartoons and things like if you go back and see that, is it the first ever video footage of him when he won the Sonic competition because he wrote down all the Sonic things and stuff, and it's just like, I think he was just like addicted to Sonic and anything to do with it, and the anime culture that Sonic comes from probably pushed him into getting into these kind of stranger Japanese internet cultures. I mean, he's a really perplexing character.
Yeah, because we've talked a lot, and it's still going on in the chat about what the most interesting aspect for me is how much responsibility is attributed to him. In other words, is it all his own doing? Is it all his choices? Did he make poor choices? But I can't help but go too deep with this. You could look at it with someone in any life situation and say, nobody could help any choice they made ever. We, as humans, we seem to have a bit of an over-exaggerated sense of what free will is. In other words, we can only really act how we know how to at that point, so you could never have acted any other way. So you can only do the best you can at that moment. You understand what I'm getting at? People say, oh, you bastard, why did you do that? Well, of course, you know, if someone's done something really bad, they deserve to be...
Okay, but think about it this way, like what I said about the people at my work that pretended to be the girl I liked and called me. But if you show something you're sensitive about, people will use
People will pounce on your weaknesses, never show your weaknesses, especially online. And when I was doing my YouTube thing, and I noticed it's something I never expected, right? When I started making videos about predators and law, call me naive, and you're probably right, I never expected to get the amount of hate that I got. All of a sudden, for no reason, even though I thought my videos were reasonably respectful, a lot of people that didn't seem to be the predators just started, like, really having a go at me and calling me whatever. And I never really anticipated it, and then I had to learn how to manage it. And one of those tactics was never to reveal too much personal information, because I knew that they would then pounce on it. But there's a shitload of
if that thing's the most personal information you can reveal, that you're still a virgin at, say, like 25, 26, and that you're openly going out on this love... the thing is, this love quest idea... I mean, this is probably what made Chris Chan become such a popular internet figure. I mean, the Sonichu comics and everything are very unique, but he talks about in the comics too, and how he's on this love quest to lose his virginity. It's so sort of like no one would ever... I mean, it's the plot to like American Pie or something, isn't it? But when you're 25 and obsessed with Sonic the Hedgehog, it becomes something very different.
This always puzzled me a little bit, this Sonichu thing. It was like he just composited two characters together and it became popular.
Well, would you like to know the history of how the Sonichu origins? Because
because I want to know that when I watch the next part of the documentary.
Oh, as well.
And then, to be honest, I mean, there was we had a lot of topics we were going to discuss in videos. This was one of them. But I get the feeling that we've only really scratched the surface with this, haven't we?
Oh, I'm going deeper. You know, I've got a lot more of the quickie to read when I'm on the train on the way to work and stuff. So, like, yeah, you know, hold my goggles. I'm going under.
And we've got well over... You know, we've got 10 years worth of material, really.
That's the I really want, and this is why it's so curious, because it's reality as well. Though it is a real life Truman Show. Like I said in the description, it's someone's transformation. Although it's not like the Truman Show, he didn't know he was being watched, and this is why the whole kind of analytical point comes into it, as to whether the fact he can interact with his audience has affected the person he has become today. And the transition from, this kid who made kind of interesting videos and created this comic book into a guy that now wants to be a woman. And it's... Sorry.
Yeah, you're right there, pal.
Yeah, sorry. I just... a bit of saliva went down the wrong way.
Cheers for that.
Sorry.
Don't ban us, please. We don't want to make drama alerts.
Yeah, that is on live stream. No, yeah, we do. That'd be great.
Oh, now you're echoing. Sort it out.
That's not me.
Well, I haven't changed any settings. I think it's all right now.
Right.
I haven't touched anything.
No. So in other words, it must be Adam and his bizarre coughing episode.
I hope it's not the webcam. I thought the microphone was fine during my stream yesterday. I did drop the microphone in a glass of...
Oh, we had a request from someone on the last video, didn't we, to do webcam episodes because they were getting sick of looking at the same picture. We'll have to do that.
Yeah, we need to work out Google Hangouts, and it's just a hassle, man. But yeah, we'll have a look into it because it'd be cool.
Yeah, it'd be a bit of fun, something different. But hey up, it's I can just see the screen of the stream now, and it just seems to be pausing.
No, I think the sound is fine. Don't worry about that. It's still a healthy stream.
Okay.
Yeah. So. Yeah, in regards to Chris, I mean, there's so much information, and sort of every little bit of information can kind of change your opinion, but it's all kind of interesting. I mean, he certainly led a pretty messed up, crazy life.
Has he? This was something I wanted to ask one of you two before. I'm sure you know. Has he ever? When was the last time he had a job?
Not, I don't believe, since he was like a teenager or in his early 20s. He worked at Wendy's or Burger King.
Wendy's at some point, but
the information is that he got fired for doing a Donald Duck impression, which scared a child. And he does do quite a good Donald Duck impression, to be fair.
So he's never had a proper job?
Well, I mean, do you discount working in a fast food chain as a proper job?
No, but what I mean is for a proper job, as in a long period of time in a position that you make your own. I don't mean that don't try and fucking.
No. He's never worked a proper day, like any kind of career where he's planned. Even if it's only lasted a year, he's never been. Yeah.
He's never grafted. Because I would suggest it doesn't matter what job you do, whether it's fucking cleaning toilets or being president. A hard day's work defines a person. If you've never done a hard day's work in your life, that has a massive effect on you. Hard work is... You never get anywhere without hard work. Whether it's, like I said, whether it's running, whether it's cleaning, it doesn't matter. So that's a massive factor. Is he a lazy fucker? Because I despise lazy people.
Well, yeah, he is. I think that's why a lot of these people justify the troll. And that's why a lot of the trolling, like I referenced the Clyde Cash stuff earlier, goes down the route of sort your life out, mate.
And yeah, there's certainly a good point to
I mean, a lot of what the people say on the quickie thing that I've been reading is like, he's begging for money, but yet he'll go out and spend the money he does get on these little action figures and things.
Yeah, and Danny's just said is the definition of lazy, and I've not really thought about that aspect before. But of course, if he's never done a hard day's work or done anything that, it's very easy to stand there and spout shite online and not go to work and expect a load of money, and he's getting that. And
however, I would say there's YouTubers out there who are less interesting characters than he is that do make a living out of it.
Yeah, but he's not intentionally interesting. He's he's kind of a byproduct, an epiphenomenon, if you want to be really posh about it. A byproduct of him is the fact that he's interesting because of his condition. He's
But
not.
if this is what I meant when we talked about his Patreon and stuff earlier. I mean, if he wasn't so lazy and he agreed to do more, I'm sure people would pay him for personalized Sonitude comics and things. If he had the business acumen to set himself up and like properly do his, I've not actually looked at his Patreon. I wonder if I can find it.
Just type
I
in,
think there's a link to it on his last video.
type in Chris Chan Patreon. I'm sure it'll come up.
Okay. But yeah, so I don't know what he offers on his Patreon, but surely, I mean, you know.
Yes, it's the top link that comes up if you type in Chris Chan Patreon.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry for the right. Yeah, Christian Weston Chandler is creating Sonitude and Rositude official comic books and products. So what does he offer? The thing is with this Patreon, because I know when I set mine up, it puts a load of default rewards in that you can't even actually definitely do. But however, you can these are personalized. Like it's not just the base things. So. $20 will get you autographed copy of Sonitude number 0, followed by paid month of the books following after. I can't even understand what that means. In numerical order, all each personally so I think $20 gets you all of the Sonitudes, and all autographed by him, and you get early access. Right, for $100, he'll make a video, 15 to 30 minutes, nothing offensive or pervasive in content. All curse words will be censored. Copy pasta allowed within reason. I mean, this is another internet term I'm not down with. What's copy pasta?
I think it's, as far as I'm aware, it's, you know, where someone copy and pastes a short story, although I'm not entirely aware of what it is. Someone in the chat might be able to tell us maybe, but...
But yeah, I mean, he could do personalised Sonitude books, surely. Something like that. But, I mean, it can't take him that long to draw the Sonitude thing. But he'd rather beg on the internet because it's easier, faster money, isn't it? And that many people feel sorry for him that he does make a few $100 a month on Patreon. And I would say, if you look at his content, I mean, if you take his content at face value, not thinking about who he is or anything, it's worth nothing.
No.
His content is awful. His content, like when it's a reaction video to a troll or something, when he's like, if he had harnessed that as a character, you know, I don't know. I hope no one takes offense, but if he could have made a character, the angry autist or something, and he could have harnessed that. But
you just stealing Simpsons' idea, angry dad. No, but you're right. Are his comics any good?
No, not really. No, I haven't actually got around to
them?
reading all. I've seen parts of them. I haven't got around to reading all of them,
But they must sell though.
No, he doesn't. He uploads them online. He doesn't like. It's not like they're sold in comic book stores or anything.
Right. No, that. But what?
I think they're too crap to be sold in comic book stores, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, also the thing is, although he copyrights this character Sonic, you have to remember it's just Sonic the Hedgehog, but he's yellow.
Yeah, we know that. It's just it's not a genuine character.
I think he couldn't actually properly release it or anything. I mean, one of the sagas that also was brilliant is the Jimmy Hill saga, and the fact that they used an English football commentator's name. and put a picture, like a caricature of Jimmy Hill saying, "I'm the one and only true creator of Sonichu," because Chris was so protective. This is the other thing. It's like relating to how we said people went after the love thing because he was so desperate for love. He was so desperate, like, to keep his character as his original character, that, like, the one thing that pissed him off that the trolls went for was to pretend that they created Sonichu themselves, and they apparently, like, I haven't seen the video itself and I would love to, but there's part of one of Chris's reaction videos where he says, like, "Oh, it's just the video I made of Sonichu, except when I say my name is Christian Reston Chandler, he talks over and he goes, 'My name is Jimmy Hill,'" and it's so good. So yeah, there was a lot of trolling that's kind of funny that just made fun of his artwork, and yet I mean the extent and the effort that's gone into it, you can't.
What was interesting as well, think about it, right? With everything that he's gone through, right, he's still putting himself out there. He's still begging people for money off the internet.
Yeah.
Despite, like, how long is it since how long is it that he's been an internet phenomenon, if you want to call him that?
2007, I think he first got noticed, but don't quote me on it.
So can we say 10 years is a safe bet?
I think he's had brief appearances on real television as well, though. In fact,
well, so they were in the first documentary. You know, when he won that competition. Is that what you mean?
Well, no. There's also a clip of him when there was the Yu-Gi-Oh card craze.
The Pokemon thing.
No, Yu-Gi-Oh's slightly different, I think, but I never really got into it.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, so near enough 10 years of internet craziness. It's a little bit, and I'm sorry to say that word again, it is a little bit like Lorne, isn't it? There is a very interesting comparison in that someone's life is destroyed by the internet, but yet you continue to put yourself in that same situation. But yet, it's not that unusual for the human condition. If you think about a female or a man, you might put himself in a situation where they're in a destructive relationship and they continue to get with person after person and the same thing happens. It's an ongoing cycle. People generally don't learn the lessons, do they?
Well, no, they don't. I think, and that's why they're easy targets and they stay there. There has been certain people in these internet cultures. And I think with Chris, though, this kind of idea of fame in his head as well, because he's appeared. It wasn't just the first Sonic competition he won. He briefly appeared in a clip with Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and he also was recently again on TV as Christine Chandler at some kind of rally. And I mean, he was making a DVD at one point called "Yep, It's Me, I'm on TV" or something. I mean, the delusions of grandeur are very strong, but at the same time, is delusions of grandeur a terrible thing if it's not harming anyone?
If what's not harming anyone?
To have delusions of grandeur.
No, of course, but it gives
to me
people an opportunity to have a go at him, which is what's happened.
Would you ever make a DVD of yourself, Andy, and say, "This is my best moments," and then give it out to all your friends?
What do you mean, best moments?
I don't know. Just like you take clips from holiday videos, YouTube videos, and you just go, "Yeah, it's me, I'm on TV." And then you give that video to all your friends.
If I could trust them, yeah, but...
If you can trust them.
But probably not, in other words.
Yeah. I don't think doing something like that was harmful, but it's a strange thing to do.
I mean, it's not harmful to other people, but in someone like Chris's case, then it's harmful to him, I think.
Well, yeah. Well, he's not come to any actual physical harm or anything throughout this whole thing, I don't believe. Well, apart from... And that was the cops in the mall, wasn't it? And that, I mean, we're talking a long time ago in the history of Chris Chan, but the cops in the mall hogtied him because he was being creepy, I believe.
And didn't he get maced at one point, or?
No, he tried to pepper spray someone.
Oh yeah. Memory's going the way of my grandmother.
Yeah, so I think I don't know if I've really got much to say more on Chris Chan, and we've been going an hour and 40 minutes. But I've had a nice time. I'll probably think about before this stream, like all I was thinking about, because I've been reading about it on the train. I was like, oh, got so much to say. This is going to be amazing. And then I've sort of just streamlined everything a bit. But I think we're gonna have to do some more streams on Chris Chan, and then I think definitely for your channel, Andy, we need to do the Chris Chan lawn
Comparison.
Yeah, I
Paradox.
did a video on my own just before, well, not just before, but a few months before, or a couple of months before the channel got taken down. But I think we can really go to town on that because there is a huge comparison. Some of that lawn trolling, I believe, is still ongoing. You know,
as is some of the Chris trolling, maybe. I mean, this is actually happening in real time to an extent.
yeah. So it draws up some quite, I think, really interesting points. It's like, you know, where does it end? Is it ever justified? Where's the line drawn between humor and bullying? And what does that say about you as a person if you're doing it? You know, how far do we take humor? There's a really load of interesting points.
For sure. Well, I wanted to make a video. I was thinking earlier today as well, and I think I wanted to use the word, but I'm not even definite if I know the right meaning. So I'm gonna see. Yes. Okay, it does work. I was gonna call it the Chris Chan, Lorne Armstrong, Robert Hocker paradigm.
Oh, but that word, paradigm, brilliant.
Yes, it was. It popped into my head, and I was like, I better check the meaning because I think it sounds good, but does it work? And it does, because the word paradigm means pattern. So
Is that basically the definition of it? Because I've always struggled to get my head around that word.
a typical example or pattern of something, a pattern or model. So yeah, well, it definitely works in that context. Yeah, because I want to talk about how all three of them, even including my own personal troll, Robert Hocker, who we've not had any news on for quite some time, but he definitely, like, when I first made this channel, I made that video on him, and everyone likes stuff like this, and Robert Hocker's an unknown, although he does have a YouTube channel if you want to check out his weightlifting regime.
Yeah, he's. I believe his Facebook disappeared though, didn't it?
Yeah, I think he, I don't know. I remember, we went, I mean, he had some weird stuff going on, like his...
Oh, yeah, it was really fucked up.
His fantasy, what do you call it when people write fantasy stuff? Fiction, his fantasy fiction. Jesus, I've forgotten how to speak English.
No, then.
Yeah, that's probably a good time to stop, as I've forgotten basic words. Thanks everyone in the chat. If you've enjoyed yourselves, do remember to hit the like button. It's appreciated. I'm getting close. I need less than well, I don't know. It's fluctuating. Very close to the magical 1,000 subs numbers. So if you've just come in and you've enjoyed yourselves, I know our opinions may not always agree, but I think we sometimes have an interesting insight. So do remember to subscribe, smash the like button, and thanks for joining me, Hal and Andy, to talk about...
me again.
Yeah, cheers, mate.
Yeah, no worries, and yeah, hopefully there'll be some more in the old Chris Chan things happening soon, especially when you finish that documentary, which if you guys in the chat haven't seen, do watch if you want to learn a lot more about Chris Chan. So take care everyone, and I will see you soon.